A Joe Biden 1.0 is calming, and a grandfatherly figure, a low-key veteran coming out of retirement in 2020 to heal a nation that was deeply divided by Donald Trump's clan rallies and all this other shit. Now a year later, we're meeting Biden 2.0, who's a frustrated, angry fighter. Now, basically, he said last week that he was fucking tired of being goddamn quiet, and this is what he said last week in a fucking blistering speech. Now, Biden was referring specifically to his many fruitless, quiet conversations behind the scenes with senators in a doomed effort to get his signature legislation on voting rights passed. Now, he could just he could just as well have been summing up the the, um, ex, the expiration of his first 12 months in the Oval Office. Now, now, if 2021 saw a mild Biden, 2022 looks to set a to set looks set to future a louder, more pugnacious version. A president who's running out of time, patience, and allies to save what remains of his ambitions. Now, Biden took office on January 20th, 2021 as the oldest president at 78 to become basically he became the oldest man to ever serve as president at the age of 78, facing incredible challenges. Now, COVID-19 was out of control. Trump sycophants had just 2 weeks earlier tried overthrowing the presidential election, and the economy was comatose, and around the world, the U.S. allies were reeling in Trump's shock of their own. Now, Biden's answer to all of this, and not to mention to the explosive tensions over racism after a series of black Americans were killed during botched arrests, it was to promise competency in an old-fashioned decency and unity way. Basically, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together and uniting the people. Biden pledged in his inaugural address, and he even has a chance to pull it off. But Democrats narrowly controlled both houses of Congress. Trump had been banished from Twitter, and COVID vaccines were ready. There were high expectations that Biden, given his experience and his knowledge of Washington, would be able to make the train runs on time again. This is what Lara Brown, who's a director of the Graduate School of Political Management at George Washington University, had said. It was all about a return to normalcy. Now, beset by Delta and the Omicron COVID variants, an ever more divided America, and the likely loss of Congress to the Republicans in November midterm elections, Biden's luck at the age of 79 seems to have a running short. With a majority of just one in the Senate and barely more than just that in the House, his huge social spending plan, called the Build Back Better, is dead in the fucking water. And ditto the voting rights package he says is needed to save U.S. democracy from Trump sycophants. Biden, a centrist at heart, Biden has failed to connect with the right or to satisfy his own party's Democratic side. As he's discovering, the center is hard to find at all in these days. The average approval polls on 538 are at a lowly 42%, which is down from 53%, so he dropped 11%. But a recent Quinnipiac poll has Biden sitting at a 33% approval. Now abroad, the picture is similar. While world allies do like having the United States not governed by Trump, the country's humiliated military exit from Afghanistan torpedoed Biden's administration oral professionalism, and certainly Russia seems unconcerned as it masses troops on Ukraine's border. This all adds up to a bitter awakening from the days when the White House buzzed with idealism and talk of Biden emulating his hero Franklin Roosevelt, who led America through the Great Depression in the 1930s. Um, their optimism, combined with the public expectation that all of this would be solved, led them down a path of hubris. Brown said, "Now less shouting or fighting. There's still a scenario. There's still a scenario where Biden can come out on top. The pandemic burns out, the economy stabilizes, the inflation recedes, and with the subsequent feel-good factor, Biden gets his party to reverse those legislative defeats just in time for the midterms." Now, Biden's aides also point out that they got Congress to pass the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, which is juicing a COVID-ravaged economy, and it's preventing more widespread misery. Remarkably, Democrats also got strong Republican support in passing a $1.2 trillion infrastructure package, and all that with a razor-thin majority in the Congress. The more likely outcome for 2022, though, is continued Democratic infighting, followed by Republicans winning one or both chambers of Congress in November, which we don't want. But at that point, Biden can expect aggressive House investigations and even possibly impeachment as Republicans seek to further undermine their opponent's ability to govern at all. And it would become increasingly likely a 2024 White House challenge would come from Trump, which we don't want, even as the former squatter continues to try to lie and to subvert the 2020 election. So much for Biden's vow to restore the soul of America. But David Ignatius, a Washington Post columnist at the heart of the mainstream establishment, advises Biden to pivot back to less shouting and more of Biden's trademark common sense. Now Biden with his back against the wall is signaling that he sees things more darkly going into 2022. He basically said he did not seek this fight. He said in another dramatic speech this month, this time commemorating the anniversary of the January 6th Klan rally storming of Congress by Trump sycophants. But he says, I will not shrink back from it either, Biden said. He's like, I will stand in this fucking breach. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when the new video comes out, and thanks for listening.